A chicken of mummy, a chicken chumbe, chicken of mummy, the chicken Joe chumbe, guy man bros, a fellow man dude, and a guy man bros, and he's begging me fee for food. He just a little dude, he puts his paw out, baby. He's begging for food. He's a blind man bros, a fellow man dude, and a brother man guy, and a bros guy man, a fellow man dude, and a bros guy, and he's begging you. He puts his paw out because he wants food, baby. Pick it up on me, begging. Guy man bros, if a fellow man dude and a dude man, fellow man guy man bro. He's begging. My dog is begging for food. When he puts his little paw out, baby. Chicken a dome, baby, chicken a chum, baby, chicken a bum, baby. Begging. Guy man dude and a fellow man bro, and a bro's man, fellow man guy man dude. He's a doggy, bro. Dun dun dun. A fellow man, dude. Dum dum dum. And he just wants one thing, and it is food. He's a guy, man, dude. There's only one thing that he wants, and it is food, baby. Begging. My dog is begging for food, and he puts his little paw out, baby. Wow, it's warmer in here than I thought. Greetings, programs. My name's Ingrid Bernal. Hankrin Fernale here. Your old buddy back at Runehammer, Drunken Dragons. Is this dropping on Spotify soon? That's good. Hi, everybody. My name's Hankrin Fernale. This is Runehammer. And yeah, it's Woden's Day. It's the saddest day of the week because we're playing every other week in our hard suit game, and this is the week we don't play. So time to get sad with the little clown tears coming down. But other developments, of course, are always unfolding here in the grand palace that you perceive. This mighty spire of wisdom making, this wisdom dome, this. Doing other stuff. And it gives rise to thinky pants. When the trousers lift, they lift high enough, they become thinky pants. Now, if you have a significant other in your home and you try to do thinky pants, I can almost guarantee that they won't like it. For some reason, roommates, wives, husbands, really anyone who's in the room does not like it when you pull your pants up really, really far. For some reason, it's just, if you're doing it, it's hilarious. But everyone else who's looking at it is not feeling it. I speak from experience here. And speaking from experience, it's time for me to speak from experience. And that's why I am live streaming today, my friends. Now that is how you do an intro. Welcome back to Runehammer. Today we're going to be talking about pedagogy. Pedagogy. Now this, I don't want to come off sounding weird using this weird word. Now it's a weird sounding word and it's no fun to say and it looks even uglier, but it is a useful word. And I didn't know this word until about almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. My good friend Jim. Well, see, Jim's not like me because he is properly educated and has retained the content of his education. And so when he said the word pedagogy, I said, I don't know what that is. Is that a variety of mac and cheese? What are you saying right now? No. Pedagogy is just a noun that refers to a teaching methodology, a set of teaching or learning methods, techniques, applications, processes, and so on and so forth. If something is pedagogical, it means that it is involving learning or teaching. All right. So as RPG people, RPG hobbyists, pedagogical things should be extremely interesting to us. Everybody who's done this for any amount of time knows that learning is quite a percentage of what this hobby is. I mean, you've got your scheming, you've got your making and your painting, you've got your playing, you've got drinking, rolling of dice, drawing and writing. But learning is sort of occurring through a lot of those other activities that are the role-playing hobby. You're almost always learning something. So pedagogical topics should be interesting. Now, I don't really want to hit up some kind of crazy abstract discussion about how we can learn. I am super interested in cognitive science, but my level of competence and knowledge in that area is so horribly lacking that I would dare not try to cover such an actual topic in a video. Instead, what I can speak to with some level of confidence is my own experience. And to be even more specific, recent experiences. Ah, let go. Recent experiences. So there's been a few things that have popped up as I'm sitting here in this wisdom doing what I do, especially just because of my life schedule of late. I've had these long periods of time where I can stay focused right here at the work desk, which is weird for me. Normally, I put in like short bursts of ultra intense work. Then I go do something else and get distracted. Then I return and do another burst. But I've had more time. And I think that longer, more focused sort of sessions, at least for me, have been giving rise to some of these deeper percolations of the brain nodules. So the think fluid, I think it collects here and then it is filtered back through the brain gills. And that is when we begin to have ideas and notions. Now, if you'll excuse me. There we go. Okay, so what are the experiences that are leading to these thoughts about pedagogy? Well, there are three things. First of all, the hard suit game that I'm running right now. The session recaps have begun on YouTube, and you will continue to see those. Second of all, what happened with Dirty Jobs? They were an immense learning experience for me because we went from knowing almost nothing about the hobby as a whole to ending an epic year-long campaign. So I got to see some really juicy evidence for these aspects of learning that we always see doing our hobby. And you know, the simplest version of this is like learning a system, right? And that's where we come to the third little piece of evidence from recent experience for me, which is a hobby project that I'm currently embroiled in right now, where I am transcribing an old book from 1985 into a more compact digest sized book that I'm going to be using at the table come fall for season 2 of Dirty Jobs. So when you're doing something like that, and it's not a system that you've been playing in, but one that you played in almost 40 effing years ago, that is, by the way, that is twisted to think about. Twisted to think about. 1982 was 40 years ago. Crazy. So when you've played something 30 plus years ago, you don't know it anymore, my friend. So it has to be learned again. So in this case, I am the learner as well as the one pondering learning. And so these things have brought me to these realizations. Now, without further ado, let me just hit you. I have 4 realizations that I want to share with you. And I hope that they're somehow useful in what you do and how you think and make your table most effective and get the most out of your hobby. The first one is there's sort of this interesting and useful dichotomy of what players learn and what characters learn. And the more parallel they are, actually, there's some fun to be had. The second one is I want to rebunk some debunked learning styles. The third one is a noticing of style differences from sort of then and now. And then the fourth one, not all sessions are created equal when it comes to learning. Hang on a second. I really have a glasses issue. My glasses are covered in monkey face. Is that? Yeah. Okay. How's that? Is that better? All right. Glasses, aren't they great? You just set them on your face because your eyes are broken. Okay. So here we go. Let's get into this. The first one is probably the most recent, and I think in a lot of ways maybe the most directly interesting and useful one, I hope, for game masters out there. This is that there is a lot to be gained when a character in a game is learning in a close parallel with a player. Now, this may sound like, what? Okay, now in this hobby, we are generally supposed to separate player knowledge and character knowledge. We're role players, right? We're good at doing that. Actually, I think human beings are terrible at doing that. I know it's a big part of the hobby, but I think it's hard to do. You are always meta emotioning your character with your player emotions and knowledge. Whether you do it a little or a lot, okay, whatever. But I think it's difficult to truly divest these things. Otherwise, we would all play evil centipedes. We would be murder hobo centipedes and not feel weird about it. Okay, so what does it mean to do these things in parallel? For a character to be learning while a player is learning, I would say that this is actually painfully rare that this happens, extremely rare that this happens. Why do I say that? Well, because a lot of people get inside of a game system and they start learning it over the course of having many different characters. So as a player, they are over the course of years usually learning the true ins and outs of a system, especially when the system is sort of vastly documented, like some of the systems we're seeing nowadays, some of the more popular ones that have, more than 24 books of data. And over the course of years, you are enjoying this feeling as a player, mind you, of learning deeper and deeper levels of the game that you sort of live in. But your character, when you're making a new character, is learning from a very low level upward. Therefore, you are not in parallel. If you're the experienced player with the new character, you and your character do not have a lot in common when it comes to your sort of state of learning. And I would actually argue that this inhibits the ability to sort of be inside your character's head. As a matter of fact, I would argue that the further you go as far as knowing your system, each new character you create subsequently down and down and down and down the line will be more emotionally divested from you. Because you, as the player, you have this deeper and deeper and deeper and more wide sweeping knowledge, whereas your characters will always be sort of new and coming up. Now, I'm not saying that this means they're less fun, because I and all of you know that you can still absolutely unequivocally have a great freaking time when you're learning your system better and better and making new characters. I'm not talking about enjoyability or awesomeness. I am simply talking about how much you and your character share as far as where you are on your learning journey. Now, that's the negative example. Let's flip it around to what I really wanted to holler at you about, which is the positive example. And this is what I'm wanting to foster come this fall. And it looks like there's going to be a bit of a miniature warm-up version of this concept in just a matter of a couple weeks here with my my Roll20 group. What I'm shooting for is for players and characters to be learning in parallel. The characters are new and players are confronting a new system. So the player is just now beginning to learn the basic mechanics of the system while the character is low level and living that sort of village rat catcher life. They are both starting at that point. As the player is journeying upward in system knowledge, the character is journeying up in world and power knowledge. And they're going in freaking parallel, and it's magical. Now, there's two pieces to me making this argument, and I'll move on. The first piece is, how do I know it's magical? You're just pulling this out your butt, hankering. No, I watched it happen in Dirty Jobs, and now I'm watching it happen again in Hardsuit, and it is now undeniable. Now that I've got like two sort of, two completely different kind of groups with different dynamics experiencing the same parallelness and all this cool benefit and nuanced awesomeness that goes with that parallelness. I can't deny the evidence anymore. This freaking matters. The second thing I want to talk about is, this is absolutely the best argument I think that I can conjure up for why people should be trying new systems on the regular. It's not because, oh, they're out there. It's not because support indie creators. It's not because you're a nimwit because you only play one system. No, those are all just nonsense. The real reason is that you get to grow into a system while your character is growing into its world. And you do it in parallel, and it's freaking awesome. Now, if you were to take this to its extreme level, that would mean, hankering, are you out of your damn mind? Every time I roll a character, I should join a new system? I should consider a new system? Look, we don't have to do the slippery slope style arguing. It doesn't have to be every damn time. But I would argue it's going to be freaking magical when you do it. So if you want shit to be magical, then yeah, every iteration that you're going through, consider adopting new systems. There are zillions of them out there, and a zillion reasons besides just this argument to try them. Of course, the player character evolving in parallel argument to me is ultra potent as a reason why. But there's also just fun, brain expansion, being a connoisseur. You cannot be a foodie and eat pizza every day. You will be a laughing stock, sir. You cannot be a connoisseur and just eat cheeseburgers with no condiments every day. You got to mix it up. So, what I recommend is when you do dive a system, also bring in the new character and learn. And now we're going to talk about the other 3 points that I wanted to hit you with, which kind of go into after that decision's been made. Okay, you say, Hankrin, damn it, you're right, dude. For the first time in 6 years of being on YouTube, you're right, bro. And I want to learn a new system and make a new character in that system. So me and my character are learning in parallel because it's going to create magical nuance in the game. It's going to feel really cool. Hell yeah. Okay, now what? All right, so let's cover 3 things that I want to throw at you, right? Because all successful videos need they're like the 5 reasons your warlock sucks or whatever. Okay, so the 3 things. First of all, I want to holler a little bit about style. Now, you're going to notice as you become as a system explorer, an adventurer in what systems you're going to play. You're going to break out of your comfort zone, yo. And you're going to have that weird feeling where you read 10 pages of text and you have no idea what the hell you just read. You're going to confront that deep burn of switching up your gym routine and getting sore in weird ass places. Like you got some kind of ab muscle that no one told you exists and now it's sore and you didn't even know it was there. That's going to happen to you, but in a role playing sense. You're going to notice a big style difference in older stuff and stuff from more recent years. And, older stuff, just like nowadays, is so diverse. I can't really hit you with generalizations. I've looking deeper and deeper and actually getting into each thing that I'm kind of pondering rather than just sort of thinking about it and moving on, but actually getting in and doing the reading. There is so many different styles nowadays and back then. But know this, as you go into this journey, you're going to experience sort of 2 poles in style. And one of these pedagogical poles is very narrative in nature, very relaxed, very casual the way it's talking to you. And the other one is a boiled down, sort of super simple, almost technical language style, which is a style that sort of I would say I actually use more than the relaxed style. The relaxed style is like there's a dude in the room and he's just like, okay, here's the thing you want to do. For example, if I jump over this thing and, right now my target number is 13, well, I'm going to need to roll a D20 plus my dex to jump over that thing. And, if you want to look up where to get +3 dex, you can go over to page 17 and that's going to help you out. Now, brace yourself because we're going to talk about how to get that number even higher. Okay, that's like one style. And then on the other style, you have something that I like to do a lot that I see a little more nowadays than in older work, which is this cook down style that says roll stat plus available bonus to beat target, right? It's removed all of what Alex Alvarez refers to as verbal throat clearing, which is this sort of flotsam words that we spread into our speech when we're speaking in real time because it gives us more time to think. There's sort of like junk words that fill up space where you say words like just and so. You do conceptual linkage words to remind people that, hey, the sentence you just said is kind of keep going. Like, hey is a good example of one. So all these little words there, I just did one. I did so, which is like trying to reference my previous sentence as I roll into the next sentence. You pull all those little dudes out and you get this very dense form of rule statements. And in a way, it can be harder to learn from these dense type statements, but in another way, it's vastly easier because you aren't wading through a conversation. You ever watch a TED talk and there's actually 5 seconds of real thesis and 3 minutes of hibbity jibbity getting attention and laughs? That's kind of this difference in styles. Now, I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm saying brace yourself for this spectrum of variation and consider what works for you. And that leads to my next little observation that I want to talk about, and that's what I'm calling rebunking. I'm rebunking this shit. Things have been debunked. They have been debunked. And the thing that's been debunked is learning styles. Now, in the 80s and 90s, the concepts of learning styles were not only relatively new, but pretty much universally accepted. We had our visual learners, we had our auditory learners, right? There's people who see things and they don't get, they're still clueless until they can like really hear something that reinforces the learning and then it sticks. You got your write it down to learn it people. I mean, we encounter these people all the damn time. Well, if I just write it down, I won't forget it. And then 2 days later, they have no idea what your email is. Okay, that was just a little cynical. That was cynical. But these are called learning styles, right? And they had a lot of different versions of learning styles. Now, in time, that overall pedagogical theory was really widely debunked. It was a false way of compartmentalizing students, and also a little bit placing blame on students. I think it looked at a student as being like, well, your learning style, that's on you. Right? And so we're going to try to adopt, more practices that will, work with your learning style. But, oh, you have a different learning style, don't you? I can't tell you how many times I was told that as a child. And the translation that I heard was, you have a head full of rocks and you need to go sit in that closet. And I'd be like, I'd rather be in the closet with a teacher like you potato farmer. I don't know what this imaginary conversation is, but learning styles have generally been debunked. Well, I say, screw that. I want to rebunk it. I don't want to rebunk it as a pedagogical theory for teachers in the public venue. I want to rebunk it for you, for me as an individual. I think that this theory did kind of need to go away as far as like a way to sort of segregate students and to label them. Because telling me I have a certain actually telling me anything about myself, I'm gonna have to tell you, unless you're like one of my 5 closest people in my life, maybe you don't know shit about me, yo. Don't tell me about my learning style. You don't know me. You don't know what I've been through. But as far as understanding yourself and making the most of your own learning, because remember, you're going to be absorbing new RPG systems on the reg now, like 2 a year maybe, right? If that's the case, you need to know your learning style. Whether or not it's a real teaching theory doesn't matter. And this is where I had a big realization this past week, and I got to send a shout out to Lynette on this one. She's the one who mentioned doing these flashcards for her fellow students, right? So you're in class, you got a bunch of shit you're supposed to remember. It's near impossible to remember this stuff because it's all arbitrary. So what do? Well, hey, we probably could use some flashcards, but I want to be the one to make the flashcards. And in the making, she described to me how this sort of made it all stick in the brain. This is a noticing of one's learning style happening in real time. So I said, oh, dang, yo, that's smart talk. I'm going to go try something. So this new system that I've been learning, which has been fighting me a little bit, making me feel like that kid with the head full of rocks back in the day. What I did was I said, I'm gonna take a cue from a man, Burger. Shout out to Burger out there. And I'm going to transcribe. I'm going to transcribe this book into a different form of itself. So that means like, okay, well, I got like 20 pages of stuff here. I can't deal with 20 pages. I need to get it down to 4 pages. What do? Click, this, that, use some InDesign, got my screen grab. I'm clicking this mouse over here. I'm drawing lines. I'm typing. I'm doing revisions and abridgments. And then I look back at that page and check my work, and then go back to the original source material. And what this system is, and this whole thing I'll be revealing in time, obviously, because this is YouTube and you guys get to know everything about my damn hobby journey. But this transcription journey totally worked. Totally worked. I was kind of struggling with putting some of these mechanics together, and I'm like, my first response, fuck this system. It sucks because I'm not learning it fast enough. But my second response was like, oh, dang, I forgot about my learning style. So transcription for me is a massive learning style. Okay, so I want to rebunk learning styles. Know yours. Maybe it's auditory. Maybe it's writing things down. Maybe it's drawing pictures. Maybe it's that old dry erase board, because I like to get a picture over there. I'll tell you something about that part. Okay, that's rebunking. Now, I have one more concept. So you're learning new systems on the reg, right? You're like, what? Dude, my brain is sore, son. It hurts. I just finished learning Burning Wheel, and now you want me to learn Savage Worlds? What? You out your mind, son? No. There's one final shortcut to make your life easy as you get into this. And whether you're a player or GM, this can be brought up in a group. This is how not all sessions are created equal when it comes to pedagogy. Now, here's the negative case again. We've all had this happen, especially with board games. You sit down and you want to have some fun. You got like Batman miniatures in front of you, and you're like, fuck, I want to play with these Batman miniatures like bad. Look at this Batmobile miniature. This thing is dope. Let's start playing with these. No, hands off. Don't you touch that hankering. We have to learn how to play this Batman board game before we get to play with the miniatures. And I'll be like, oh, man, I'm fucked. We're going to be looking at this damn manual for the next 45 minutes. I'm going to hear a bunch of pop, and I'm going to forget everything except like what I'm supposed to roll. And then I'm going to be a clumsy fool with it. And on my second turn, I'm going to be playing the game totally wrong because I was impatient with the learning process. This happens in RPGs too, but in board games, it's more just like the norm because you're often playing a board game for the first time. But it does happen in RPGs too. We've all been there. It's like the first session, or maybe it's session 0 or something. And we have to go through this litany of rules. We have to go through this massive, especially if it's a new system. Okay, you guys, here's how it works. Oh, the pain. You're hitting me with the whole damn system before I even get to make a roll? No. So do it this way. Not all sessions are created equal. That first session, when you're on a new system, just use the most raw ass, simple, bottom of the whole thing molecule of the system for an entire session. No stats, no modifiers, no shenanigans, no spell cost, no ammo tracking. None of this silliness, no encumbrance. Get out of here with that. No measuring move distances. No, you're going to be doing some uber basic rolls that the game uses at its core. All right. What is this? D100 roll under. Oh, cool. Kind of like Call of Cthulhu. I know how to do that. That's all you're going to be doing for that opening session. Next session, in comes a new shipment of mechanics that make this system cool, but not everything. And then you're about done with this process, maybe session 4 or 5. See what I'm saying? So that first session is just going to feel like description. It's going to be like chin scratching, a dialogue, and then uber basic rolls. Maybe even rolls that don't even play stats. It's just a freaking coin flip in a way. But you're doing the coin flips that native to that system, be it 3d6 roll high, be it d20 roll under, whatever the hell. We all like to play with the math rocks, and they can be played with in a myriad ways. But why would you do this? One, to avoid that crazy like overload burn that happens at the beginning when I didn't get to play with the Batman miniatures. One is to avoid that. And then two, let's bring it all the way back to the beginning of the video because you are learning as a player in parallel with the character. The character is a villager at the beginning of this shit, yo. They have a lot to learn. And you are a mere raw dice roller. You're not even using stat modifiers yet because you are the villager of RPG players in that moment. Your character's level 1, and so are you. And that's okay because as your character grows in capability, you as the player grow in knowledge. You're going together. Look at this. If you follow the motion of my hands, Follow the motion of my hands. What do you see? What do you see? Togetherness. Togetherness. And togetherness is the stuff that makes the world go round. So you want to be together with your player because it's inside your own head. So you don't want to be detached from things that are inside your own head. That sounds like being crazy. Don't be crazy. But you might go crazy because when you're learning new systems as a regular habit, you will be considered crazy. And there's one thing to know. It's just like old Van Gogh says. He says, if a voice inside your head tells you not to paint or that you cannot paint, then you must paint and the voice will go away. So if somebody says, yo, you crazy learning all these RPG systems. Why don't you just hang out in good old D&D with the rest of us? Or you'll tell yourself, what am I, crazy? Wasting my time learning these role-playing systems when I could just be hanging out in D&D. I could be an expert of D&D by now. But instead, I never really learned the nuances of it because I moved on to some others. Shut up! Silence that voice by boldly going and learning new systems. And use that number one argument that I'm hitting you with. I'm going to stand by that argument. I'm going to light the internet on fire with this bad boy. The best reason to go learn new systems is not to be cool. It's not to support creators. It's not to prove you're some kind of counterculture, whatever. It is to grow in parallel with your characters. It is a role-playing reason to adopt new systems, not a sociological, judgmental reason. And to me, that is relatively novel. That's all I have to say today. It's Woden's Day. If you put your question, if you even have one, if you put your question in all caps, I will answer it. Damn it. I got way too much energy today, and I don't know why. That got really intense. Now that it's over, I feel kind of sad. Got to breathe it down. Got to cool down, you know. Don't want to pull a Hemi. How are you, Mr. Runehammer? I'm well. Milo, completely unrelated. Oh, fantastic. The draw weight on my bow is 35 pounds, my friend. Not for the killing of men on the far end of a battlefield, but for the accurate threading of a needle at 20 yards on a very good shot. Wonderful pull weight on that bow. Absolutely love it. I've always had way higher pulls on my bows, but I went for accuracy this time. I got to say, it is the shit. It's really fun. What is the tube thing in the back? Oh, this right here? That is my Heavy Temple UV sensitive poster. So keep up with me on the grams and you might see that. They are a band that I like a great deal, and I did a little present for them. BMAC, is learning a new system necessary? Well, a strange question considering I just spent 45 minutes arguing, yes, go do that. And it is not about new rules at all. As a matter of fact, you're going to get less depth in any given system that you attempt because you're moving on and switching. You will not know the deeper, more nuanced rules of any of these systems unless you stick with a single character. That's kind of what I'm suggesting. Yo, if we're going to play Savage Worlds for the first time, 3 years later, you're going to be an expert on Savage Worlds. And if you stuck with that one character, that character will also be an expert in its own fictional context. And you will have gone like this. Together. Here, I'll show you while the next one pops up. Bagging. Oh my gosh, when is wearing giant flannel season going to be over? So this is just a brief look at the blacklight poster that I made for Heavy Temple. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. Oh man, it's wild. I love doom metal. Anyway, have you ever tried the Dark Eye? No, not yet. Love it. Will do. I'll look it up today. What about the opposite? managing a vast character's knowledge of a world that the player doesn't have. Well, how would your character have vast knowledge of a world if you didn't know anything about the world? When does that happen? Hi guys, I've got my level 1 fighter ready. He has vast knowledge of this world. What? That feels a little strange. Ty, I am not recommending pulling things from. I have advocated hacking for years. This particular video is not about rules hacking. It is about embracing a system for what it is so that you are a newbie again. Being the newbie is the goal, not harvesting rules. And that is a leap of mind for me. And I'm not saying this in abstracta ad flagrante. Oh no, I am doing this exact thing as we speak, transcribing an entire book as a pedagogy. Anyway. Yeah, so that's just rebunking, Tordsy. If you learn best by making a character, then you're starting to see your own learning style, and you should embrace that and use it. So every time you switch systems, you make a character to learn. It's brilliant and very common. Tony, the hard suit miniatures are currently a little bit slowed down. I'm getting test prints printed out, and everybody seems to be busy at the moment. So I need to get these test prints done to make sure that my practices are intact, and then I can make all the designs and then get all the files out, and then we'll be there. So it shouldn't be long though. It's a pretty slim process. I'm learning skirmish rules. Heavy on the sure. Getting the spirit of D&D through battles. Any experience with that? I thought I'm not a huge skirmish like wargaming player, especially PvP. I really almost never do that, so I might be a little bit useless to you. But I do think that all games, including war games, there's plenty of room for role play, even when it's just something simple as mockery. And I think the same thing would happen. Again, if you're learning a new war game, the army that you're sort of portraying shouldn't be all supremo and built out. That's a desperation. Do you think that parallel learning experience of player and their character would break if a group would switch to a different system for a specific situation? Absolutely. Because then you have this old character that now you are taken back to the beginning, but the character's way up there in power and you're back to the beginning here in knowledge. And I think that breaks that relationship. Are the minis going to be STLs? That's obviously Starship's the easy thing to get to in people's hands is the STL files. Very easy to do digital distribution. But the vast majority of us do not have 3D printers and don't really want to get into the whole artisan aspect of that. And so I'm working on a fulfillment service where you can order a hardsuit kit, a model kit. It will probably be, there'll be a little bit of a price hit on it because it has to be printed and stuff like that. So it won't be cheap, but it would be a route for those of us who don't have a 3D printer like me. And I really don't think I have time to get into 3D printing. So STLs at first, and then we'll figure out a way to get hard copies, as they're called, of the miniatures into people's hands. Yeah, role-playing with Farkle is critical. How do I sell my group on joining this journey? Brian Smith. They're plugged into the Matrix biopod of 5e and won't bust out. Well, do your friends fan your flames or douse your flames is a question you may have to ask. If you present this concept to them and they're just like, no, maybe keep playing 5e with them or something. But if that really is something you're passionate about, find people that share that passion. People that poo-poo your fun are poo-poo. So those who fan thy flames, draw them closer, I say. But yeah, how do you, this kind of questions comes up all the time in our hobby. How do I sell my group who's like hesitant to do anything outside their dreary comfort zone? How do I sort of sell this on them? If you're selling something to somebody, I would just move the hell on. I don't want to sell anything on anyone. Hey guys, here's why we should wear sombreros and go take tequila shots. Let me just sell you on the idea. No, I want people who go, and they're in. Those are the people I want to hang out with. There's no selling. Blah. That was extremely high energy output of something I've been thinking about for like 4 days straight now. And there it is. Very happy with the argument of why to switch systems, though, because this comes up a lot. Now, if there are no further questions, I'm going to jump. At what point, this parallel journey, do you start hacking? Well, you're going to hack throughout. Hacking's inevitable in all tabletop role playing. It's the privilege of doing tabletop rather than playing video games. You can't hack a video game as you play it, but you can hack tabletop as you play because that's the joy of it. You can take and disregard what you like. But I would say, take care to be the learner, not to use hacking to bypass learning, which Lord knows I have done. So I think the more that you're on this journey, hacking is a little bit of a backseat because you're getting interested in learning, not chopping up and changing. I've definitely hacked to avoid learning. What's a good system to rip from to see a good crafting system? I have no idea. Why crafting has been given so much attention in tabletop, I've never fully understood. In video games, it makes sense because you have just like a little progress meter. You clearly are investing playtime. Waiting playtime involves return that's expected and stuff like that. But in tabletop, we can elapse time and effort quite easily with a few waved words and spending coins. So crafting is exciting, but I've never seen compelling evidence or reasons to really make it detailed. I think you can be extremely simple with cost and time, or even simpler, just like, yeah, there's a guy who's making this sword for you. He'll be done in a month. Done. How do you get your players to do it? I don't know. Will your players do anything? Will they go to a bar with you? Will they go to the water park and ride the slide? How are you going to talk them into that? It's just such a slippery slope of reasoning. How am I going to talk my players into giving me a ride to the airport? I want to go to Belgium. How am I supposed to go to Belgium if I can't talk my players into driving me to the airport? It's very slippery slope. Very slippery slope. When starting a new system, have you ever had to take the initiative to make characters for your players? No. What is going on? Are these players sleepwalking through life? No, I'm not going to make a character for you. What? I thought you guys were into this shit. Oh, man. Dreary players. What's going on here? But without all the hyperbole towards day, no, I've never done that. Adramir, I like learning and trying to hack new systems. Here's another one. But my group just wants to play. Is there a mystical way to do? I've said it once. I'll say it for the trillionth time. I don't know anything about solo role playing, my man. I'm sorry I don't know anything about it, but I just don't. And as for players who just refuse to budge out of their comfort zone, I have no answers. People not showing up. Yeah, I would argue any time measurement system, that's your crafting system. I really don't think, yeah, at least for me. I don't know. Is that it? Is that it for today? There's plenty of other stuff to do today. So maybe I should, damn it, every time I think it's time to leave. What's up, Whiskey? When your player is Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's, how do you get them more involved? Well, you put the sticks on the wrists and then you move the arms and make it look like they're psyched. This is never it. I know. Remember the legendary days of like drinking on YouTube for 6 hours and totally embarrassing myself? Now, don't start a string of comments how all anybody wants is for that to happen again. It will happen again someday. Yeah, it will happen again someday. Things have changed. The YouTube landscape has changed. Sitting here and drinking on YouTube for 6 hours has a different feel to it than it did in the early days. It's kind of like high school, you know what I mean? Things change between your freshman and your senior year. And I am definitely a senior in life. How much hacking of ICRPG is too much? I worry about overcomplicating. Who cares? I mean, you like a complex game, make it complex. Put that Ars Magica spell system into ICRPG. Just get it right in there, along with all the Latin words. There is no too much. It's appetite for detail, appetite for complexity. You like complexity? Go all out, man. Go nuts. With context, as a way to try new systems with my usual gang, when someone can't make it, instead we play a different one. Up next is VDS. Yeah, my advice for your first time playing Death Squad, keep the armor on your enemies low. Don't be afraid of weird speed rolls, because there will be some that are extremely high and some that are extremely low. And throw out your expectations of a predictable power scale in your game. VDS has none. You'll do one encounter that is so easy, you will wonder why you're playing an RPG at all. And then you will have an encounter that is so impossible, the only choice is to flee. With the same characters and the same monsters. Because that's how it works. So if you just go into with that Zen, you just adopt it. And then go light on your enemy armor so you're not tracking too much stuff. In games like Elden Ring, we see dynamic combat. Characters walking around the map during combat. How would you go about having more movement during fights? Well, you got it. The enemies will, players prefer not to move while they fight. They just want to stand there and kill something. It's kind of like standing in front of the Slurpee machine and getting the Slurpee. So it's up to the monsters. So give your monsters high mobility capability. Give them jumping, give them teleport, give them the free hide like goblins often have, and then they pop out of a different bush. Move those monsters around. Make it a little bit difficult to use ranged or something, and bang, you've got people moving around, just like the Garrosh fight or many of the fights in World of Warcraft. You can also do area of effect things that, shoo players out of an area. Boosh, there's a green cloud of glass, and if you're standing in the green cloud of glass, you get poisoned. So get out of the green stuff. That's World of Warcraft perennial knowledge right there. Just don't stand in the green stuff. Yeah, Norns, that's exactly what's up. How would you pitch Hardsuit to someone who's never played a tabletop role-playing game? Well, it's kind of like D&D, but with some sci-fi elements mixed in here and there. What's that? Never heard of D&D? Okay, well, it's kind of like a medieval world with swords and magic, but there are some science fiction elements that are left over from a time long past. So it's familiar enough to move around in and play and go to a village and go to a tavern, but it's unfamiliar enough to encounter strange monsters and strange elements of technology. So do you want to play or what? Can I convince you into playing Hardsuit? All right. That's it. I'm going to get out of here. Contrary to Starships and Steel, that is it. I'm done with this pedagogy. It was dope. See you on Friday, y'all. But I don't know what we're going to talk about. It's just going to be Friday, and that'll be reason enough. Guy man fellow and a fellow man dude, and a guy man dude, he's begging for food. So he puts his little paw up, baby.